Hello and welcome to the in-news series of Drishti IAS. My name is Pooja. The 6 convicts in the Rajiv Gandhi assassination case are free. They were freed by the Supreme Court on the grounds of certain anomalies under the TADA Act. Now we will discuss what is actually the entire case, how and when was Rajiv Gandhi assassinated, what was the reason behind it, what were the reasons which made the Supreme Court to make these convicts free from any charges under TADA and just mere charges of IPC. The entire segment will be important from the perspective of UPSC mains paper, specifically GS mains paper 2nd and 3rd, and also from the perspective of prelims examination. Let's move forward and first of all talk about the different topics that we are going to understand. The news: why was Rajiv Gandhi assassinated? How was he assassinated? The conviction and the controversy. Surprisingly, there was a lot of support from important political parties of the South for these convicts, and why they have been released, what lies ahead for them, and a question in the last. First of all, look at this news piece. Nalini and 5 other Rajiv Gandhi assassination case convicts walk out of prison. Nalini was seen crying as she met her husband when she was released. After 31 years, she is walking free now. Now, if we talk about one more convict, AG Perarivalan, he was made to walk free. He was freed of charges. When we talk about the earlier case, there was a case in this year itself which we have covered in one of our segments. I will put the link of it in the description box. You can see it. Moving ahead, let's talk about why was he assassinated. It was only in the year May 21, 1991 when India lost its youngest Prime Minister at the age of 40. He was assassinated by a woman named Dhanu. Dhanu was one of the 8 core members of LTTE. Now, as Dhanu was approaching Rajiv Gandhi to touch his feet, a policewoman named Anasuya Daisy was preventing her to do so. But Rajiv Gandhi said to her, "Relax, don't worry, let her come." She was the reason Rajiv Gandhi doesn't walk among us all today, because she was a human bomb. She triggered that bomb, killing herself, Rajiv Gandhi, and more than 10 others, in which 9 policemen were also there. Now, May 21, 1991, LTTE, Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, is the responsible body for it. This is a body of southern extremists. They belong to South India. They are extremist in nature. They were extremist in nature, who were waging war against the Sri Lankan government. Now, Rajiv Gandhi, in order to restore balance in Sri Lanka, sent Indian peacekeeping force to Sri Lanka. Indian peacekeeping force initially had the role of assisting the government of Sri Lanka, but the entire nature of their operation evolved to counter-insurgency and finally a war in the jungles with the LTTE irritating them. Now, LTTE believed that if Rajiv Gandhi comes to power in 1991 again, then he would continue to intervene in the matters of Sri Lanka. That caused the entire situation to be. LTTE chief Vellupillai Prabhakaran made the decision that Rajiv Gandhi should be assassinated, as he is the primary enemy of LTTE, and he set this plan in November 1990, which set the ball rolling for the next year. Moving ahead, now Dhanu, as I said, was one of the 8 core members of LTTE who implemented the assassination. She and others from LTTE carried out 2 dry runs before committing the final plan. First dry run was in the AIADMK chief's rally, Jayalalitha, and second one was VP Singh. In the second run only, she could reach closest to VP Singh and she touched his feet, making sure that she could do the same to Rajiv Gandhi, which she did before she triggered her human bomb. Now, On May 21st, Rajiv Gandhi reached the venue of the rally in Sri Perambudur. And first, we have to understand how the situation was. There were two sections. One section was all men's section and second one women's section. Rajiv Gandhi first went to men's section to meet them. Second time he went to meet the women's section, where Dhanu came close to him and triggered the bomb. Okay, then Dhanu blew herself up and killed Rajiv Gandhi, 14 others. Moving ahead, now the conviction comes into being. They were charged under TADA. We will talk about TADA as well. So the 26 accused in the case were sentenced to death under the Terrorist and Disruptive Activities Act. There was a court under it in Chennai which did so. But death sentence has to get conformity by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court in 1999 acquitted 19 of the 26 convicts. And it commuted the death sentence to life imprisonment of 3, Jaykumar, Robert Pius and Ravichandran. Commuted means to substitute the harsh punishment from a less severe punishment. It also upheld the death sentences of only 4, Nalini, her husband Murugan, Santan and A.G. Perarivalan. Moving ahead, now in 2014, the Supreme Court commuted 3 more death sentences to life imprisonment in 1999. Now, one thing we have to understand that A.G. Perarivalan, the thing is that he was supported a lot by certain judges as well, because he never said that he knew the battery he bought would be used to make the bomb for Rajiv Gandhi. Now, this is something that he held very, this was his, you can say, statement that he held throughout. But one more person was there who said that he knew that what was he doing. Moving ahead, now if we talk about the support of the convicts, many important political parties took this job to spearhead the process of their release. DMK spearheaded, but later on AIADMK also joined. Jayalalitha declared in 2014 that she would release the convicts irrespective of consent. So this was something, it was a major blow to the Gandhi family and the state in general. Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer supported A.G. Perarivalan, saying that his soul is precious, his value is noble, his jail life has not made him a criminal. Then Justice K.T. Thomas invoked double jeopardy issue in the case of 2013, saying that after so many years, now hanging these convicts would be unconstitutional. And this was it. There started the release and the petition to challenge their imprisonment and sentences. Now let's talk about TADA. The Terrorist and Disruptive Activities Act of 1987 was the main or the primary act against terrorism in India. But because of rampant misuse, it lapsed in 1995. Terrorist act and disruptive activities were, you can say, defined under it, and it also put restrictions on the grant of bail. It gave enhanced power to detain, suspect and attach properties, and it also ensured that the confession of any person before a police officer is admissible as evidence. Also, separate courts were set up to hear cases filed under TADA, much like what UAPA is right now. It is coming under the fire. For the similar reasons, TADA was also under fire and it lapsed. Now, why they have been released? Let's talk about this as well. So, Nalini Sriharan, R.P. Ravichandran, Santan Murugan, Robert Pius, Jaykumar are the ones who have been released recently. The 7th one was A.G. Perarivalan. We have covered about his story as well. We will put the link of this in the description box. Now, the court used Article 142 of the Indian Constitution when we question the release of A.G. Perarivalan. Similar instances were ensured that Article 142 is used here as well. It is actually Supreme Court's discretionary power. It has 2 clauses. Enforcement of decrees and orders of Supreme Court, and unless as to discovery, etc., the Supreme Court, in the exercise of its jurisdiction, may pass such decree or makes such order as is necessary for doing complete justice. Keyword here. Under its own discretion or jurisdiction, complete justice in any cause or matter pending before it, and any degree so passed or orders so made shall be enforceable throughout the territory of India. Okay. Second one is, second clause, subject to the provision of any law made in this behalf by the Parliament, the court shall, as respect the whole of territory of India, have all and every power to make any order for the purpose of securing the attendance of any person, discovery or production of any documents, or investigation or punishment of any contempt of itself. So Article 142, remember this. Article 142 has been used in the AG Perarivalan case. Apart from that, Article 142 was also used in certain other cases, such as the Bhopal gas tragedy case, in which the Supreme Court awarded a compensation of $470 million to the victim and held that prohibitions or limitations or provisions contained in ordinary laws cannot, ipso facto, act as prohibitions or limitations on the constitutional powers under Article 142. Then comes the Babri Masjid demolition case, in which the court ordered framing of a scheme by the centre for formation of trust to construct Ram Mandir at the Masjid demolition site in Ayodhya. Third was the liquor sale ban case, in which the Supreme Court banned liquor shops within a distance of 500 meters from national as well as state highways in order to prevent drink and drive cases, drunken driving. Now let's move ahead. Again, first Article 142, but we also have to talk about TADA Section 3. The Section 3 Clause 1 of TADA said that whoever with intent to overawe the government, these are the criteria under which any person can be convicted. With intent to overawe the government, or to strike terror in people or any section of people, or to alienate any section of people or adversely affect the harmony amongst different sections of the people, does any act using explosive or any hazardous substances that could cause death or injuries or damage, destroy properties, commits a terrorist act. So first we have to understand this particular section in division. Now, definition of intent has been questioned. What was the intention behind this attack? This was the major question that the Supreme Court had been asking since a very long period of time. First, it is not enough, according to K.T. Thomas, Justice K.T. Thomas, Supreme Court Justice K.T. Thomas, he was also on the 1999 bench of the Supreme Court under the same case. It is not enough that the act resulted in any of the four consequences. He said that the act which was undertaken to assassinate Rajiv Gandhi does not mean that this was the intention and this was the major reason why Section 3 was, we can say, overruled. The four consequences being overawing the government, striking terror in the heart of the people, alienating a section of the people, or adversely affecting social harmony. Rajiv Gandhi's assassination was solely on the basis that the chief of LTTE saw him and only him as the primary enemy of LTTE. He did not hold anything against the people of India. So first, overawing the government, no, but Rajiv Gandhi back then was not the prime minister. He was actually in the opposition. He was in the opposition and he was under the campaign process when he was assassinated. Striking terror in the hearts of the people. Although policemen were killed, certain people were killed, but the intent, again, the intent here was not to strike terror in the hearts of the people, but to eliminate Rajiv Gandhi. Also, alienating a section of the people? No. It was not, there was not, according to court, I am not saying all this. According to the court, it was not the intent of the LTTE to, destroy the social harmony. Again, adversely affecting social harmony and alienating a section of the people. Although the prosecution's case was that assassination was an act to prevent the government, if Rajiv Gandhi could come again into power in 1991, from continuing the implementation of the 1987 India-Sri Lanka Accord, which he would have definitely done. Okay, moving ahead now, Section 4 of the TADA was also overruled, saying under which killing a person bound by oath under the Constitution to uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India or any public servant. Now here comes the catch. This is indeed a disruptive activity. If you're striking on the person who is sitting at the top of an elected government, you are doing a disruptive activity. But here comes the catch. The killing of Rajiv Gandhi was overruled under this section because he was not a person who was bound by any oath under the Constitution to uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India. Okay. Also, because of the dissolution of Lok Sabha before his assassination, he was not bound by any oath of the parliament as well. But there were 9 policemen who were killed. Again, intent. All the policemen have been bound by oath under the Constitution, but the intention was not to kill the policemen. It was only to kill Rajiv Gandhi. Conspirators intended to disrupt the sovereignty of India could not be concluded. This was the third point. How can we say that they wanted to disrupt the sovereignty of India? Because certain photos of them from St. George, Madras Police Headquarters, Central Jail within Vellore Fort, which they had taken, it was not establishing any evidence. Moving ahead. Now the court applied only certain sections of the IPC. Section 302 of IPC murder and 120B, which is conspiracy. Moving ahead. Now let's talk about what lies ahead. Now Sri Lankan convicts released in Rajiv Gandhi assassination, they can be sent back to Sri Lanka. Also, and if they want to remain in India, they can do so by filing an appeal under principle of non-refoulement, which is under international human rights, refugee, humanitarian, customary laws, saying that they have the right to stay in India. Also, the nation state cannot send them back to their host country, okay, because of this. They can also be asked by the government to stay in special refugee camps under section 32E of the Foreigners Act, okay, in which detention takes place. Now, moving ahead, let's talk about this question. Which of the following articles was common amongst the Bhopal gas tragedy case, Babri Masjid demolition case, liquor sale ban case? These are the many options you have to answer. Stay with me a moment. Those who have answered the last question correctly of in news. So many of you have answered the last question correctly, which is US Department of Treasury. Krishna Patel, Simi Mishra, Rishabh Singh, also Swagger IITian, Indira Priyadarshini, Simi Dubey, Sonia, PS, Santosh, Aaron Raj, Rukshana Begum, Riyansh, then Nauba Noirem, Praveen, Tushita, Gentleman Show, Riya Thakur, Medha, being Kuldeep, Tushar, Sudarshana, Mohin Khan, Faizan, Shruti, Suni, also Varsha, Vivek, Simran, and Khushi, Jose, then Anuj, L. Abhilesh, Sunidhi Chauhan, Shubham, and thank you so much for answering these questions. This question, last question, answer this as well. I will take your names in the next segment. Thank you so much for watching.